Hi, I'm Tim Sullivan. At the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, we work to drive New Jersey's economic growth and innovation to help build stronger communities within the state. That's why we're proud to support programming produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation.
Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by RWJ Barnabas Health, the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, the Northward Center, the law firm of Gibbons, P.C., Community Food Bank of New Jersey, Fedway Associates, and by Adler Aphasia Center, helping stroke and brain injury survivors recover their speech. Promotional support provided by the New Jersey Business and Industry Association and by Insider NJ.
This is One-on-One. I'm an equal American just like you are.
The jobs of tomorrow are not the jobs of yesterday.
Look at this. You got this?
Here it is, man. Look at that.
Life without dance is boring.
I don't care how good you are or how good you think you are, there is always something to learn.
Do you enjoy talking politics?
No.
People call me because they feel nobody's paying attention.
Our culture, I don't think, has ever been tested the way it's being tested right now.
Such a good question. High five.
This is Gianni Russo. This is the guy. He is the author of a fascinating book, which I could not put down. It's called Hollywood Godfather, My Life in the Movies and the Mob. Good to see you, my friend.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate you having me on. The show, I know what you do with the show. It's great. So it's a privilege.
No, it's the other way around. You grew up in Little Italy in the 1940s, or say?
Yeah.
Describe the neighborhood at the time, because by the time I got there, it wasn't the same neighborhood.
I know. I get down there every Sunday when I can, and it's totally changed. No, I mean, that whole 8-block square where I came from, 8, and 8, was only Italians.
That's
and
it.
That's before the Chinese crossed over Canal Street.
Yeah.
But now, you know, most people left and went to the other boroughs and didn't
They left?
make the investment.
Went to Jersey?
Went to Jersey, Staten Island, Brooklyn, all over.
By the way, if you did, yeah, I know you know this, but Gianni, I just to get ready, and because I wanted to do it, I watched The Godfather again. I mean, he was just fabulous every time I see it, playing Carlo.
Carlo.
Not a nice guy. How could such a nice guy play such? Because you're. And by the way, tell folks, your first acting gig at that.
Yeah, first time I ever acted.
And your teacher was a guy named Marlon.
Marlon Brando. I'm the only person in the world that can.
By the way, see him right there. I'm sorry. That's Coppola. That's Al Pacino, and you're right behind. Go ahead, pick it up from there.
That's we're rehearsing for the christening scene, coming out of the church, and he's going to tell me, Carlo, I'm sending the rest of the family out to Vegas. Go home and wait for me. Like a fool, I went home and I waited.
And as I read that section of the book, and by the way, if you haven't seen The Godfather, which I find it hard to believe, make sure you do. As you write in the book, Marlon Brando told you that it was important that you demonstrated clearly that you were afraid because you knew your life was on the line. They were about to kill you. And he said when they gave you the ticket, they were going to send you away. Look at the ticket, quote, to make sure it was real. Am I getting this wrong?
Oh, no, it's perfectly right. No, but the thing is, you know, with probably most of the audience don't know, that's the first time I ever acted. So I was never in front of a camera, didn't know protocol on the set. And Brando, who first tried to get me fired, then became my friend, and he mentored me through all of those scenes, believe me. I mean, and the only scene I really feel I acted in was the end. All the rest was physical and violent. But when he told me, you know, that, because I read the script, obviously, I know I'm going to go through the windshield.
And you had to keep putting your foot through that windshield.
Yeah, but that was the hard thing. The thing was to try to look afraid and know that I'm not dying or thought I could leave and convince the audience. That's why he said, look at the ticket, and when he asks you who approached you, look around the room. Don't, you know, and you told me all these great nuances, fortunately, that the scene stands up.
You know, one of the things in the book that I find especially interesting is that this Godfather movie almost wasn't made.
Oh, I know.
That there were folks like Joe Colombo at the time, major organized crime figure, and others in the mob, and you knew these guys well. You were you had relationships with them.
Well, I was born in the neighborhood.
Frank Costello was
my man, though. That was it.
Was he a father-like figure to you?
Definitely, right till the day he died.
And look up Wikipedia, Frank Costello. You said that in some ways the mob did not want this movie made, and you intervened to make it clear to the mob guys that this movie should be made, and if it were to be made, that they potentially would have parts in the movie.
Well, not only that, you know, knowing the mob as I did by that time, because I was 25, and I was in the neighborhood, you know, Costello reintroduced me to that whole
You were running
world.
errands, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. And I still am. No, but anyway.
I'll leave that alone. Go ahead.
But, you know, I knew the mentality of them. It's always about money. And Joe Colombo was told to stop what he was doing.
He had this anti-defamation thing,
Right.
which he wound up getting killed in Columbus Circle, but go ahead.
Because of that.
Yeah.
And they came to him and they said, listen, you got to stop. You are, you know, he had his own family, the Colombo family, and you don't picket the FBI building. And, you know, he had this whole thing about, you know, the reason he did it, I don't know how many people know that, his son was arrested, and he was trying to protest the treatment of Italian Americans.
So the FBI was after Italians.
Yeah, that's what he said. Well, we always had a saying,
FBI stood for?
forever bothering Italians.
That's right. That's right. But here's the thing. You went to some of these guys and you said, look, first of all, you wanted the movie to be made very much.
Well, my ego. I mean, I wanted to do this movie. I always wanted to be an actor, and I wasn't going to go through the trials and tribulations. And so I knew if I can get this done, and I'm giving you a fast version. I don't know how much time we have. But I knew if I can get it done, my payoff was I played Michael, Sonny, or Carlo.
You knew that.
Oh, that was the deal.
And Coppola told you that.
Coppola didn't tell me that.
You just knew.
Coppola didn't even know the deal. No, I met with Stanley Jaffe and Bobby Evans.
Over at Paramount.
Oh, yeah.
Let me ask you something. You know the scene I'm about to ask you about. You and Sonny.
Oh.
So you and James Caan, who played Sonny in the movie, let's say the hothead brother as opposed to Michael or Fredo, you had some history with him. I would read the book to find out the story about Carmine Persico in the back room where he tried to pull a prank on you and said he's there with his daughter back there. It was a young woman who wasn't his daughter, and you...
And I knew Junior a long time. So when he came to the bar...
Junior, otherwise known as Carmine Persico. Go ahead.
Right. But fortunately, the two guys I was with, one was Tommy Bellotti, who got famed by getting killed in front of Sparks with Paul Castellano. And the other guy was an underboss, Boozy DeChico, with the Gambino family. Jimmy didn't know that. So when he came over, because he actually thought he got a button. When he got the part, he actually thought he was a made guy. He was so crazy.
That's what it meant to say get a button. But so in the scene where you have beaten up, you have hit your wife in the movie, played by, she actually was played by Coppola's sister, Talia Shire.
Talia Shire.
So you do that. He comes after you. He throws a bat at you, which wasn't in the scene. The bat hits you.
Oh yeah.
And then he gets you, and you said he actually was hitting you with the top of a garbage can.
See, the thing, we rehearsed it actually for 2 days. So it was all choreographed. And I didn't know, we got this mark, that mark. So they have all different tapes on the street. And we did it. It was perfect. Now, the day of shooting, as you said, he improvised with a club. The club was never in it. And he must have been practicing all night because he threw it once, hit me right on the head.
Right.
And I went down behind the car, fortunately so I didn't cut there. And then they said, are you okay? And I said, I'm all right, let's go. And then he throws me over the railing.
Remember.
And he beats me up. He chipped my elbow. And then I'm crawling out to the hydrant. He lifted me up and broke 2 ribs.
He kicked you in the stomach.
He kicked me in the rib cage and lifted me up.
Greatest thing about, I'm going to ask you about 2 people. Pacino was great because?
Great actor. I love Pacino, even now. I put him in Any Given Sunday.
You did that.
Yeah.
And by the way, up here, Robert De Niro says Gianni Russo walks the walk and talks the talk. What a life, a worthy read. Help other people understand this. By the way, you were in the hospital for 5 years with polio as a kid.
Right.
And what hospital?
1949, Bellevue.
No one in your family visited you.
Well, they couldn't. See, but understand
Were you
this.
quarantined?
Yeah, I was quarantined.
Jesus.
She had 7. That's why I still have a very bitter taste in my family, about my family, because of the fact that, how do you tell a 7-year-old kid what quarantine is? I didn't even know, I mean, the word was hung over the door. I didn't know what it said. But, and I actually came out of the hospital very bitter and had a thing that I needed to get over with because I was so Well, you know how I got out of the house,
Yeah.
but we're not going to tell them that.
No, read the book to find that out. And the time we have left, I want to ask you this. Godfather changed your life. You get business out in Vegas. You got a great business going out there. The legacy of The Godfather for you, in terms of its impact in your life, how would you describe it?
It's my life. It's my whole life. Even right now. Even for my grandchildren right now. I am the spokesperson for Corleone Family Products throughout the world.
Continues this part, which first had time acting. You knock it out of the park. By the way, you lost Diana Ross, I think, in some.
Oh, so many people.
Yeah,
too.
yeah. No, and there was an award you were up for. This changed your life. How did that change American culture?
Well, I think what it did, it defined the mob in a good way, I think. Almost too good. Because for years, people are still, animating these guys. And there's so many wannabes, I think, because of that movie.
This is Gianni Russo. I have to tell you, there are a lot of authors who come here, and I don't get a chance to read all the books, but this is a book I could not put down, Hollywood Godfather, My Life in the Movies and the Mob by Gianni Russo, with Patrick Piccarelli.
Piccarelli, yeah.
Imagine I got that wrong. Thank you, Gianni. Honor to have you, my friend.
My man, thank you.
This is
Sorry for
PBS.
that.
That's okay. That's Gianni Russo. Stay with us.
To see more one-on-one with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato PhD and follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
We are honored to be joined by Stephen Wolfe, the author of a Central Park love song, Wandering Beneath the Heaven Tree. He's also an English professor at Berkeley College, one of the institutions of higher learning we know very well. This book, powerful, and I thought I knew Central Park until I started reading it.
No.
Tell folks about the book.
Well, thanks. It covers my 42-year relationship with Central Park.
A relationship.
Yeah.
Describe it.
And as I discovered the park, so...
By the way, you can tell we're taping live because it's our relationship with the heart of Manhattan and the
and that's
fire
part
truck
of the book,
yes.
too. There's a few places in the park where you don't hear the sirens.
Really?
Yeah. Anyways, I arrived in 1976 to take part in the fall of civilization. New York was the capital of that, too, at the time.
That's right.
And I had a big dog. I lived on the Lower East Side. And I had a big dog who had to do more than walk around the block a couple times a day. So I got him to Central Park, and I fell in love with the park.
That's your dog?
Yeah, that's my dog. He was about 10 or 11 years old when we moved there. When we moved to the Lower East Side, East First Street. And it was too far to walk to the park. And I had no job or money or prospects. I came here with a dream in my heart and a dog. So I figured the best way to get him to Central Park was by subway, but the only way to get him to Central Park by subway is if he was a guide dog. So I pretended I was blind. And the story opens with our first night visit, late at night, in case something went wrong, where I put on glasses, open up this stick, put him on a leash, and we tap our way downstairs.
What do you love about this park?
You got to read the book, Steve. Many things.
Tell folks what they should love about the park.
It's got so many. Sometimes I love the beauty of nature and the solitude, and there's hawks and coyotes and wild animals. But I also like the social scene of it. I mean, it's where musicians go to play. It's where unusual people go to sit by a lake and read a newspaper. And it's slow. It's not the rush of Times Square. It's not the lights. It's people taking their time.
But it's evolved.
I'm sorry?
The park has evolved.
Oh, it's changed a great deal. We've lost much.
Lost?
Well, there was supposed to be no sports. It wasn't a place for recreation. It was a place for recreation. You went there after working 6 days, 12 hours a day, in tough conditions. You went to the park to be renewed, to be restored. You weren't supposed to play games. You weren't supposed to do basketball, baseball, none of that. You were supposed to ice skate was allowed because the water froze. But that was all. We were supposed to be restored by nature. Rich people could leave to do that. Poor people couldn't. And the park was built for those.
The park in New York City.
Yeah.
It is. I almost got. What would New York be without?
Oh, I know. Well, it was that way for a while. As the city was being built, the city was leveling everything, no park space. And it was then that people said, hey, we need something. So if there were smaller parks, and that was a suggestion, instead of one 800-acre park, build 8 100-acre parks. That would, well, thankfully, it went this way. Thankfully, it's one large park of 800 acres.
When you're teaching English over at Berkeley, by the way, I should make clear, Berkeley is one of the underwriters of what we do, and I've had the honor. I had a book signing party there as well. Great group of people there. Let me ask you this: when you're talking to your students at Berkeley about Central Park, most of them do not know much about the park. Fair to say, or no?
Most New Yorkers don't know much about the park.
Most New Yorkers?
Or just a small piece of it. You know, they have a little area they go to regularly, and that's it. You know, they run the track, or they play tennis, or they go, but that's all. They don't know the variety and the expanse of the place. That takes a long time to find.
A big part of your life's mission is to help the rest of us appreciate this park in a way that we otherwise would not.
Yes, that was the main reason to write the book. That was one of them. One of the main reasons to write the book was for that reason. The other was to remember that it's finally a very fragile environment.
Fragile.
Yeah, I mean it's plants, it's earth, it's birds, it's like nature. It can be easily spoiled, and it's greatly intruded upon by the city, by civilization.
And a few seconds left. What do we need? What should we be doing to protect it?
Realize that. Leave it be. Don't cut into a tree and make your initials. Don't leave the trash out. Don't feed the animals junk food. Don't throw trash in the water. Realize that it's a sacred place.
Sacred.
Yeah. I mean, as nature was, as the men who designed the park believed nature was. You know, it was designed during the 1850s.
Olmsted?
Olmsted, among others. And nature is where we found God. We didn't find God in the city. We found God in what God made. And poor people couldn't go there, so they brought nature, God, to the city.
Let me tell you something.
That's the point of the park.
Sorry for interrupting. As we finish here, I'm going to tell you right now, I have a feeling people who go to Central Park are going to appreciate it a heck of a lot more because of you. Thank you so much.
Good.
We'll
Thank
keep
you.
talking off the air.
Thanks very much.
Thanks,
Thank you very much.
To see more one-on-one with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato PhD, and follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
Michael Carbone is Regional President, Metro Pennsylvania, New Jersey Market, TD Bank. Good to see you, Mike.
Good to see you, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Question: what are most consumers today looking for or want from their bank?
They want everything. They want convenience, they want it for free, and they want easy access to their money. And the world has changed so much in the last 5 to 10 years that you don't need to come into a bank to get all that. So it's really important.
Hold on, I like to go in my bank. It happens to be one
and
of
that's
yours.
why.
But I like going in.
A lot of people do.
But hold on. Are you saying that more people are doing the automated thing?
It's starting to trend that way. Every year, more and more people do their banking by other choices, whether it's their mobile phone, their computer. They're not having to come into the physical facility.
Right.
But the physical facility is important because it gives a sense of security that if there's something really wrong and I need, I can go in there and see somebody.
But I can also talk to a person.
And you could talk to a person.
Are we losing that, Mike, the whole personal piece of it?
I think it's generational. It really is. I have a son who says, I have no need to ever go into a bank. But for me, I still like to go to a teller, say good morning, and have cash in my hand. And if you think about it, the way the natural order of things are with wealth, your more mature client is your wealthier client, and they want that physical presence, and they want to be able to come in and do their banking. But today, most younger people, they want to swipe. They just want to be able to get access any way they can get access.
So the personal thing is overrated for them?
I think for them a little bit, but they want what's cool. They want the app. They want that, oh, I could get money. I could have somebody. We have an app that you could actually text money to you.
You can?
Yes.
I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, you can. I haven't done it because That's not for me.
But that's the whole idea, is you have to respond to different
you have
markets,
to be
plural.
able to. You have to be there for everybody.
Yeah. So let me try this. We've Jen Eichel and I were talking about this, our executive producer, and I said, Jen, you realize how many people keep talking about student debt around here? People have different perceptions of it. One of our guests said, and I want to put this on the table. By the way, TD is one of the financial institutions that support what we do at the Caucus Educational Corporation. Said, you know what? It's the banks. The banks are on student debt. It's the banks. They're the ones. They're squeezing kids when they're in school, and then they got this debt for the next 15, 20 years, you say?
They're government loans.
What do you mean?
We don't have those loans. They're not. We don't have those loans. They're not our loans.
That's not even in the portfolio.
No.
Wait, hold on one second. This is not about bashing the government, but they are government loans.
Yes.
They're not bank loans.
Not our bank.
Okay, now we clarified that. Let's try this. What I'm curious about is something that a lot of people debate but don't understand. They say we need to be more literate, more financially literate. What is financial literacy, and what does it have to do with being a smarter consumer?
This is the biggest issue I believe that exists in our country. Is we hear that banks don't make enough loans to small businesses, they don't make enough loans to consumers in certain markets. What we all need to do is make sure that people understand what they need from a bank. And the most important thing is, how do you manage your own money? The worst thing you do is make a loan to somebody that might not be able to repay it, or give them a debt that is not something that may be for them. And what we all need to do, and one of the things that I am pushing for, and our bank does it at every level, whether it's kids in school or adults, is get them to understand, how do you manage your cash? Are you asking for the right loan? Are you getting what you need, and are you managing your money properly? This is where there's a big issue. I know when I got out of school, nobody taught me how to balance a checkbook. Nobody told me the pitfalls of having a credit card. Nobody told me that, hey, by the way, use that credit card. You're paying serious interest on it. We need to do a better job of educating people on what they need for them and helping them manage their money so they don't get into pitfalls that they can never get out of.
But Mike, what's so interesting to me, by the way, if you're listening on the audio side, this is Mike Carbone from TD Bank. What I'm curious about is, how is it that kids are supposed to become more financially literate if, in fact, a whole range, a significant number of adults are not especially, quote unquote, and I'm not saying this to be disrespectful, they don't understand how money works.
Well, we're trying to change that, and we're doing it at the grade school level through high school, from the simple denominations of understanding what money is to what's the responsibility of a credit card.
That's right.
And it had to start somewhere. And now we're doing more adult education classes, not only for individuals, but also for small businesses. The entrepreneurial spirit is still real, but if you don't know how to manage money, you're likely to fail.
You know, it's interesting, Mike mentions this. We have a look on our website, if you'll put it up right now, we have an initiative called Stand and Deliver. This is a not-for-profit initiative that teaches leadership and communication skills to inner city youth, not just in Newark, but in other urban areas. You and your colleagues come in every year and do a financial literacy seminar for these young people. It matters.
It certainly matters. And it's fun. It's fun. You make it fun for kids, right? And then there's not this intimidation. The biggest thing I see with young people is confidence, right? If you build their confidence, they're going to be better as they get older. And it's the same thing with adults. People are really nervous when they're asking for credit or what should I do? And we train our people to understand, don't assume somebody comes in knowing what they want. Have a conversation with them. Have a dialogue. We're not here to sell you anything. We're here to understand what are your needs and be a value add to you, as opposed to, oh, you should have this or you should have this. You have to get to know your customer, and you have to understand what is it that they really need and what is it they really want.
So you say, a few seconds left here, stop. Some folks who sell without knowing what people want are bad at customer service.
Right. And that's why you know how we evaluate, you know what the biggest evaluator for us is? Service. What kind of service are you providing your customer? The higher your service score, the better it is for you as an employee.
You just listened to Mike Carbone, who's regional president, Metro, Pennsylvania, New Jersey market, TD Bank. Thank you, Mike. We learned a lot, buddy.
Thank
well
you.
Done.
To see more one-on-one with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, Email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato, PhD, and follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato. One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 30 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by RWJ Barnabas Health, the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, the Northward Center, the law firm of Gibbons, P.C., Community Food Bank of New Jersey, Fedway Associates, and by Adler Aphasia Center. Promotional support provided by the New Jersey Business and Industry Association and by Insider NJ. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.
Look around. 1 in 7 New Jersey children goes hungry every day. Hunger is everywhere right here where we live, and it doesn't look like you think. Help the Community Food Bank of New Jersey feed our hungry neighbors.
Do you make decisions? Do I eat or do I get my medicine? Do I eat or do I pay my rent? And you got people making decisions like this each and every day, juggling their finances. How are they gonna pay a bill here? Do I pay my car note or do I eat?